everyone wants to be seduced. Everyone wants to be taken through that process where reality becomes intensified. The rest of the environment, the rest of society just seems to melt away and disappear. And all you're aware of is this presence in front of you, this intensity, this warmth, this energy. And seduction is a process. And we're going to talk a lot about that. But to explore this a little more, we add color, so you realize that it's all a gradient. There's different degrees between the sexual and the social, the seductive and the sexual, as well as the social and the seductive. And if you're not taking notes, this would be a good time to start. There's a couple of things I'm going to point out that aren't actually on the slide. The process of going from the social to the sexual, if you can imagine just an arrow going from the green to the red, this is pickup. Pickup is concerned with, more than anything, creating a sense of value, creating a sense of status. Pickup is obsessed with status and value. What happens when you trade the social for the sexual? You get a sense of obligation. You're trading your social value for her sexual value. A degree away from that sense of obligation is coercion, manipulation, deception. It's really easy to fall into these kind of things, right? These things that really don't, hopefully, don't resonate with us. They don't serve us in the best way when we study those kind of tactics. I'm going to talk more about what all those tactics are, right? The process of going from the seductive to the sexual, this is the process of seduction. And it's everything that I've been talking about, giving the gifts of your presence, your integrity, your intensity, passion, romance, excitement, adventure, awakening her senses, igniting her body, allowing that surrender. So it's not based on obligation and coercion, it's based on lust and arousal. There's a lot of different degrees that I can put upon this. But real quick, the process of going from the social to the seductive, we call this flirtation. Flirtation is it's a dynamic all of its own. It's often a means. I don't want to say a means to an end, but it's its own process. Flirtation is the social to seductive. Basically, it's seduction without the sexual element. It's making people feel good. It's an end in itself. Having fun, making people feel good. There's no sense of a sexual outcome. It's just being charming, being charismatic, making people feel good. It's a gift in and of itself. One thing I always like to say about the savage triangle, this diagram, is begin where you are. A lot of what I'm going to talk about in a minute is how the seduction trumps the pickup, how being seductive trumps being merely social. The community, as is focused over here. In one of my models, I've actually named each of these triangles. So the social corner is basically the AFC, the average frustrated chump that can't get out of the friend zone, right? One triangle away is the pickup artist. One triangle above that is the player, just because he's a little more forward with his sexual intent, his sexual desire. On the other side, with seduction, these are the romance artist, the sensualist, the sex god. So you're going up this way. So we kind of got the flirt or the charmer in the middle. So start where you are. That means, like, look, a lot of guys have social skills together. You don't need to be an approach machine. You don't need to do 1,000 approaches and do all this crazy peacocking and ridiculous ways of getting attention. You got your basic social skills. Start with that and flirt. And then you reach that hook point. Flirtation, isolation, seduction. then you're going up the other side toward a sexual event, toward a sexual connection. But there's tons of things I like to lay on this. This path is one of taking value. This path is one of giving value. The pickup artist, the process of pickup begins with a sense of lack, a sense of scarcity. What can I get from her? What can I get from this situation? How can I get her to like me? How can I get her to fuck me? How can I get her to go out with me? How can I get her phone number? This is a process of giving. You're giving the gifts, all the things that I've been talking about. It's a sense of abundance. You're filled with so much love, compassion, concern, care. You want to give this. You give it freely.
What is the social to seductive?
That's flirtation. That's what we're going to talk about the least. But be aware that that is the path of flirtation. It's essentially seduction without the sexual element. And if you like, I'm not knocking being social, and I'm going to talk about this more too. It's necessary. The center is the sweet spot. Bing. So I gray out these areas. This is not what I teach. This is not my focus. I'm not a pickup artist. But I consider the center to be the sweet spot. It's up for debate, whatever. But it's balanced. You have a varied and dynamic social life. You have no trouble making friends. You have no trouble flirting. You also have a varied and dynamic sex life. You have the kind of sexual experiences that you want to have. And at the same time, you understand the process of seduction. Starting at A and going to B or Z or whatever. Taking her through these stages of captivation and intrigue and arousal. Being able to turn a woman on. Not just saying, you know, I want to get to know you, I want to hang out. And it's not being that caveman guy. The epitome of sexual is the caveman. He just wants to, like, fuck. He just wants to manhandle. No finesse. No sense of romance. No sensuality. So we talked about obligation and manipulation and coercion versus compassion, empathy, and sharing. Another aspect of the whole taking versus giving is this is the path of impressing. This is the path of expressing. Are you expressing an energy and an innate desire that you have? You have this abundance of masculinity. You have an abundance of passion. You want to share this. Or are you trying to impress someone? What do I have to do to get her to like me so that I can take something from her, so I can gain something? This path is all about self-gain. We talked about this being the path of arousal and lust, this being the path of desire and obligation. This is also the reactive path. You're reacting, you're taking, you're impressing. This is the proactive path. You're giving, you're sharing. Pressure versus pleasure. High pressure kind of tactics, high pressure environments usually. This is all about pleasure. One of the first things I said, seduction is all about pure pleasure. Learning the process of creating that moment, intensifying that moment, and delivering pleasure and intensity. So, similarly, this is coldness. This is warmth. Rutgers University did a study. They looked at promiscuous men. They found 3 traits in common with this group that they studied. Across the board, number 1 that everyone shared was dominance. Dominance can kind of be seen as the peak of the sexual interaction. You're polarizing the masculine and feminine. You're expressing raw masculine desire and directive. Dominating, right? Here's the other 2 traits. They were polarizing themselves. So number 1 across the board was dominance. The number 2 and 3 were either being cold and manipulative or being very warm and very empathetic, very compassionate. Again, either one of these will lead to sex. But it's a decision you have to make. It's a choice you have to make for yourself. Which way do you want to get there? The path of coercion and manipulation and coldness, distance, detachment, or being able to give a gift and share warmth and affinity, connection.